Okay,
Hello.
I think we're not in listen only mode.
Hello. Hello. Welcome to this is Talented Ladies Club. I'm Hannah Martin, and I've got with me on this webinar Esther Stanhope is the impact coach who gives you extra oomph. And Esther is going to be hello. She's going to share her tips today on how you can sell yourself with confidence. So I'm just going to hand over to Esther in a minute, but I just want to let you know, we sent out an email about an hour ago with a webinar worksheet that you can use during this class, but you can also use afterwards. I've attached it as a handout in case people haven't got it. So if you look at your kind of little navigation link on the side, you'll find a handout there, but you can print it out during or after the call if you wish. So hello, Esther.
Hello, hello, how are you? How are you this morning? Are you feeling confident?
Yes, I think I've got extra oomph. I'm
Good.
feeling good, thank you. And I'm really excited. I personally am really looking forward to this as well, and finding out how we as women can sell ourselves extra confidence when well, especially if we hate self-promotion, which I know a lot of women really struggle with, including me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to some tips.
Excellent. Well, the first thing is hello, and I cannot believe that the statistics from the survey, and thank you for filling out the survey, it's unbelievable. So when the question is asked, how confident do you feel when it comes to selling yourself? And the statistics show 0% of you, 0% of us women feel really confident when it comes to selling ourselves. Now, I'm here because my background is broadcasting, actually. So I'm used to producing live people live on air. I've been at the BBC for many years, and as a producer, I've always been the person helping the talent, helping you look and sound good quickly. And I worked out a formula of what it is that makes you look and sound good. However, when I left the BBC and I had to set my own business up 5 years ago, wow, that is a huge knock to your confidence, or it's surprising how much confidence you need when you set something up on your own without a big organization behind you. And I found it really, really difficult to go from being a producer helping other people with confidence every day for 20 years to suddenly having to be the person in the spotlight. And I work with hundreds and hundreds of women and entrepreneurs and CEOs. I work with lots of men as well. But when it comes to women, we definitely have more of an issue in this area. There's something about putting ourselves in the spotlight that just makes us think, oh, ooh, ooh, I hate it. I can sell something else. I can sell a product. I can nurture my team. But when it comes to me having to sell myself, ugh, I can't bear it. So I do have some really, really, really good tips for you today, Hannah. And we've spoken about this a lot already ourselves. And we are running our own businesses and we are confident women. Look at us. But are we that confident? That's the question. Are you?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult when, like you say, it's very easy to sell somebody else, but as soon as it comes to selling yourself, it's really you really struggle with it. And I know that's something that I've dealt with myself. You know, I present for clients in my previous careers in advertising, no problem presenting to the board of directors on multinationals, but as soon as I'm presenting about my own business, it's quite different.
And I work with banks, and I work with law firms, I work with multinational organizations, and I help a lot of people go through the promotion process. And one of my clients the other day, we'll call her Sally for now, she just said, going through the process of getting promoted and going through the process of having a panel judging you, and this is just a promotion example. This isn't about pitching your idea, pitching to clients, conversations, and all of the other situations where you need to sell yourself. When it's actually a panel of people judging you, that's when you really start becoming unpicked. She said, my life has just started falling apart around me. It's just totally unpicked me. It's unhinged me. I've realized that I really lack confidence. I haven't got the strength inside to just, face the music, face the panel, face the firing squad. So some of the, I'm really interested in the survey, and this is very common. A lot of the times when you have to sell yourself, there are lots of scenarios, networking events, pitching, meetings. Maybe you're trying to get funding. Maybe you're speaking to a team of people, colleagues. Maybe you're a leader and you have to make things happen, and you're speaking to the wider audience at the firm, or you're speaking at conferences or presentations. This isn't just about formal public speaking and the confidence to stand up and speak in front of a large audience. This is about speaking to one person. This is about having the confidence to walk into a room and feel confident and have a few tricks and techniques up your sleeve. So whenever you meet somebody, if you met the person in the elevator, the boss, the people that might be giving you money for your business, if you met them in the elevator, would you be ready? Would you be ready to have that conversation? Or would you, crumble, cringe? And would you let that opportunity slip through your fingers? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And but let's start with, so yes, the worksheets. These are, I see these more as homework. You can fill them out as you go if you like. But I think it'd be really good to make some notes right now during the webinar, and then use the worksheet as homework. So let's just talk about the biggest pain at the moment. So Hannah, did you pick out some of the survey pains, the pain points?
Yes, I did. And actually, they were people struggling with knowing how much they should talk or not talk, so speaking more than they're supposed to, acting confident without sounding arrogant. I think that's quite a big one for women particularly. You know, how do you act with confidence, but when you're fearful that actually it's going to sound like overconfident? How do you stay calm when you're nervous, which is a really good thing to try and master, and ask good questions to find out more. Articulating a personal elevator speech that feels natural and authentic, and believing that you are worthy of it. I think that's something that comes up a lot. I think that the biggest thing that we struggle with is being authentic to you, and being confident and getting things across. Because sometimes we feel that if we're selling ourselves, we almost need to take on another persona, which then doesn't feel natural to us, and then we don't feel confident, and we don't come across as authentic. So I think probably that's one of the biggest things, is how do you come across confidently but still feel and act like yourself?
That's right, and a lot of the questions that came in on the survey have a very, very similar theme. So first of all, if there are any questions, we will be taking questions towards the end of the webinar, specific questions for you. Please do use the question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can just fire away questions or comments. Feel free to do that, and we will be answering questions as we go as well. I'd really like to know from you what you struggle with the most and what your specific questions are with your specific industry, whether it's you're running your own business or you're at work with a team and you're going back to work having taken some time off. Do ask your specific questions, because we will get to answer some of them towards the end of the webinar. And some of the themes that came through. So the one, I love this. People were asking questions. So how do I sell myself without sounding arrogant? How do I big myself up without sounding pushy, bossy, and all these negative, horrible words? So here's the thing. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be bossy. You don't have to be pushy. And I'm going to be sharing with you some simple tips based on 3 main principles in this webinar today. There are 3 things that you need to do, and that is it. And I can talk you through all 3. And that will stop you from worrying about sounding arrogant or pushy or big-headed or boasting. Now, for a start, let me just tell you before I share these 3 main topics with you, if you're not an arrogant person, you're not going to come across as arrogant. And you've just got to realize that you won't come across as arrogant if you're a nice, normal person, which you are. You're not a boasting person. You're not big-headed. So you're not going to come across like that. But what you need to do is stop holding your back, worrying that you might be coming across like that. So the 3 main principles that we're going to be going through today, just keep it really simple for you. I call it my AAA formula. There are 3 A's that you need to be thinking about. So this is in communication generally, when you're communicating to an audience of 1, That could be your boss or a colleague, or an audience of 1 million when you're broadcasting, or an audience of 8 if you're doing an important presentation or a meeting. There are 3 main principles of effective communication, and this helps you to sell yourself without worrying and without holding yourself back. And the 3 A's are: A1 is audience. You always have to put your audience first, and we'll go into that in more detail in a minute. The second A is authenticity. You have to be authentic. You have to have the confidence to be yourself. You have to realize that it's okay to be yourself. Authenticity. I mean, it's a bit of a authenticity. Isn't that the holy grail of everything? But being authentic is key to helping you talk about yourself freely and feeling good about yourself and feeling confident about yourself. So that's the second A there is authenticity. The third A is this, quite simply, you've got to be a little bit awesome. Okay, when I say awesome, I mean just a little bit of swagger. You know, you've got to channel in America a little bit. You've got to be a little bit big, a little bit loud. No, you don't have to change your personality. You don't have to be somebody else. But you've just got to step up a bit and not be humble and apologetic. So, audience first, authenticity, and being a little bit awesome, the 3 A's. And then we're going to go through them in more detail. And then we're going to specifically answer some of your questions. Now, Hannah, we were talking before about when you set up your business, and you had imposter syndrome when you set up your business first. So how did you get over your confidence issues? Let's talk about that just before we start with the 3 A's. Do you think that there's one thing that helped you in particular?
I think it helped my training because I come from a marketing and advertising background, and certainly in copywriting, the first thing that you do in any job is understand who your audience are and what they want. And it's less about what you want to deliver, and it's more about what people expect from you. When you focus on the needs of the other people and make sure you deliver that, you are less hung up about actually how do I sound, or what's my message, or what I'm going to get out of it. It's looking at what someone else needs and wants, and making sure that whether you're writing or speaking, that you are thinking about those people and delivering what they want. Focusing on that really helped me.
So you're absolutely right. So the first A, and if you prepare your spiel and you prepare your stories and you prepare yourself in this order, you will be more successful at communicating on every level. Now, this is, yes, about self-promotion, but this is about really good communication where your audience engage with you and think, wow, yes, I like it. Or, wow, I like you. Or, you've got the promotion. So let's talk about audience first. As a broadcaster, when I've worked with big personalities, whether it's Boris Johnson in the studio trying to manhandle him on a live show, or whether it's Nigella Lawson, or maybe a Hollywood star. I've interviewed Hollywood stars too. I can talk about that later if you like. There is one key ingredient that the really good famous people, the broadcasters and the speakers and the politicians, share. And when people say to me, Esther, what is the Holy Grail? What is the one sentence? What's the big tip of being a great presenter or being a great charismatic person that people will gravitate towards? And there's one simple sentence, and it's from my background in broadcasting. It's what I've noticed, and it is this: you've got to love your audience a little bit more than you love yourself. Now, how does that relate to you? What's that got to do with self-confidence and selling yourself? Well, this is why it's so important. You have to make sure you know who you're speaking to and what their needs are. So it's a really good idea now, just to help you sell yourself in all of your different scenarios. Think about the next time you really, really want to shine in front of your audience. The audience of one, or is it a pitch? Is it a meeting? Somebody in the survey said, when I'm speaking to publishers, or it could be an end of year review, your personal development review with your boss, or it could be that you're selling at something new. Think about the next time that you have something where you really, really want to make an impact. Just have a
I
little
think
think about it.
I think one thing that I know certainly I use quite a lot and really helps me, and I learned actually in pitching and in advertising, is listening for the words that the person uses. And you can use this in like for a job interview, for example, where you read the job spec and you look at the actual phrases that they've used and the language they've used. And when you interview, you make sure that you tick those boxes, you use those words to describe yourself. If you're in a pitch presentation and the client is talking about a problem they have and you want to solve that problem, reiterate their problem and just say, for example, if the client says, I really want to reach new mothers and let them know they feel reassured, when you give your solution, when you are pitching your business or pitching yourself, you can say, I know you want to reach new mothers and make them feel self-assured, and here is how that we will help you do it. Because when you reframe and give back their words to them, they know you've heard, and also it ticks that little box in their mind, like, oh, she gets me, she knows what I want.
Yes.
And sometimes if you feel like, and I've been in sort of meetings before now where I can see that a presentation is maybe going a bit skew with and they're not engaged with me, it's very easy to bring them back by reminding them why you're there, reminding them why they need you, and that's always a really good thing. So just listening to the words people use and feeding their words back to them is a really good way of engaging with your audience.
Yeah, so if you go to the worksheet, don't do all the worksheet now, because you'll end up getting obsessed with the questions on the worksheet. And if you haven't got the worksheet, just write a few notes. But on the worksheet, I've actually said, think about your next scenario and exactly what Hannah said. Focus on that person. Look at the website, look at the LinkedIn profile, look at their Twitter feed. Get into their shoes. Imagine their shiny black brogues or their pink stilettos, whatever shoe where they might be a man, might be a woman, maybe it's nice churches, black churches, city shoes, whatever. Get into their shoes and think about their name. And even if you have a big presentation coming up with 300 people, think about the typical person that would be in the audience and give them a name. And now a really, really good exercise, and if you can't think of it now, don't worry, do it after the webinar, but a really, really good exercise, so write down the note to yourself to do this, is to just for a moment look at what they're saying, look at their language, look at an article they may have written, look at a clip they might have on YouTube, because most people have got YouTube clips these days, and then get into their shoes or their stilettos or their brogues and become them for a couple of minutes and just think, be them for a moment and articulate, what are you thinking right now? What do you care about? What do you really, really care about? And imagine that you're going to have a meeting with you. What do you want to know? Do you want it to be quick? Do you think, are you going to be, I really hope I want to get on with this meeting, or I really want her to impress me, or I really like this person, I really hope that she really, does herself justice today. Or they might be thinking, oh, not another one of these. Oh, here we go again, it's the 10th one today, whatever. Be really truthful about what they are probably thinking. But also, what kind of person are they? Do they care about growth in the business? Do they care about money? Do they care about their family? Do they care about something new and creative? Do they care about a new idea that will make them buzz? What makes them tick? What will make them go, what will get on their level, get in their world, and really, really spend time on this audience exercise? It's a really good exercise, because as Hannah said, when you start looking at the kind of terminology they use, the buzzwords they use, we believe in growth, or we believe in the best people, in nurturing talent, or whatever they believe in, when you get into their world, it starts writing your script for you. It starts focusing you in the right direction. So this is why when people say, can you help me with my elevator pitch? Well, there's no such thing as one elevator pitch, because every elevator pitch will be relevant to that audience. Audiences change. Even the time of day might change your pitch. An 11 o'clock pitch will be very different from a 6 o'clock in the pub elevator pitch. So don't think, I've got my elevator pitch now, because guess what? The audience is a little bit more important than you. What you want to say is really important, and all your stories and your products and your career and your success stories are really, really important. But the most important thing when you are selling yourself is your audience. You've got to love them. You've got to give them attention. You've got to refer to them. You've got to give them what they need. And sometimes some of my clients there might be lawyers that have to go and give bad news about pensions or something to a large organisation. And maybe it's not about giving the audience what they want. Sometimes you might be the bearer of bad news. It's about giving the audience what they need. But when you're selling yourself, it's still the same principle. You have to give the audience what they need. Now, here's the truth about audiences. They don't care about you. They just don't care. They care about themselves. So the good news there is that they're quite easy to serve. They're quite easy to please because they know what they want. They want something. And you're only there to give them something that they haven't got already. So focus on that. What do they need? Not what do you want to say first. That's the second thing. The first thing is doing the audience exercise. I was at a conference the other day, and one of my fellow speakers was talking about how to present and how to pitch. And he was saying spend 30% of your prep time just on the audience needs, and spending lots of time focusing on that. Because once you've got your audience right, once you know what they need, once you know what kind of person they are, then you know exactly which bit of your fantastic talents, which we are going to get onto that, you can start tapping into and polishing up. So write down their name. Let me just check the worksheet, make sure I'm covering all the right things. What are they thinking? And then write down a quote. What are they actually saying? What do you think they would be saying if you were going to be truthful about it? And then, now we get on to the juicy bit about you, about your USP, your unique selling point. Now, you've heard that before. What's your unique selling point? What makes you different? Now, don't get hung up with it. Stop giving yourself a hard time. Now, this section, which is about authenticity now, about your USP, about celebrating your good bits, you've got to stop being humble here and stop thinking, I'm not very good, I'm not very good. Don't worry, we all think we're not very good. I felt like I've literally spent 40 odd years, I'm 44 years old, I don't mind saying my age, until I set my own business up in the last 5 years, and I had to do lots of soul searching and going out of my comfort zone. I didn't think I was very good. I spent most of my life thinking, I'm just not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And I thought it was my secret weirdness. It turns out that every single woman I have ever met, including, I bet you I haven't met the Queen and had a chat with her and coached her, but I bet she probably feels the same. But every single CEO, every single leader, every single celebrity, every single politician. I mean, I've even met, Victoria Wood, the lovely Victoria Wood, who died recently. I've met people that are really at the top of their game. Every single woman I have ever met doesn't feel like they're good enough. So the thing is not to dwell on that. When it is time to shine, when it's time to show your best bits, just park the stuff that isn't good enough. Just park it for a minute. And let's focus on the good bits. The things that you find easy, the things that you're naturally good at. Are you a bit quirky? Are you creative? Are you incredibly organized? Are you precise? Are you really good at sorting things out? Are you good with people? Can you read people? Are you a juggler? Like, you must be a juggler. I mean, women juggle kids and school and the school play costumes and writing the report and doing a presentation and doing a coffee morning meeting. You're good at that stuff. You're good at lots of things. And in fact, Hannah, you might know this. There's a statistic, which is that if you're a working mum, or if you're mum, not forget working mum, if you're mum, I think you're capable of doing something like 17 professions because you have 17 fantastic. You could write 17 CVs for 17 jobs because you're brilliant at project managing. You're an entertainer. You're an organizer. You're a PR marketing person. You're a coach. You're a song teacher, singing teacher. You're a cook. You're a chef. You're so many things. But you will have certain things that are particularly shine when it comes to you. And it's really important to realize what you're good at and not be coy and not think it's arrogant. So Hannah, if I were to ask you to come on, don't get shy with me now, Hannah. You're a confident woman. But what are you really good at? If I were to ask you, what's your USP? What's Hannah-ish?
I think I'm really good at relating to people. I'm really good at relating to people. I generally like most people, and I'm really good at finding common ground. So if I meet somebody, I can quite quickly establish a common ground. But this isn't something I have to say, and I think your point's absolutely perfect. I used to be really, really shy. In fact, I was so shy that when I was about 18, 20, if I got on a public bus, I couldn't press the stop button. I would have to wait until someone got off at a stop near where I wanted to get off. And to get off, because I was too shy to press a button, to stand up and press a button. And now I will happily go and I talk in public a lot, and I'm a real show off. I love giving speeches in public. But this is something that I've learned. When I first started doing it, I was dreadful. I remember, in fact, my first ever presentation I had to give when I was working in advertising. And the first lines that came out of my mouth were, "I don't know what to say." And I just swore. It was dreadful. And I swore that would never happen to me again. So from then on in, I never prepare any speech I ever give, because I'm not that type of person. So I like to talk off the cuff. I've got a rough idea of what I want to say, but I always have my first line, because I never want to be without a first line. But what I would say, if you do find public speaking or any kind of presentation difficult, just do more of it. Because there are very few people who are innately good at anything. Most of us are bad at anything in the beginning, but we just don't mind making mistakes. We push ourselves outside our comfort zone. We make sure we do it. And then over time, we get better at it, because it's an inevitability. If you practice and you look at what you do wrong, you know, if you go to a job interview or you go to a sales presentation, you come away thinking, that was awful. You know, I didn't like how I sounded, I said the wrong thing, I could see they weren't interested, I didn't get the job. But if you think, okay, so what did I do wrong? And like you say, what was I really good at? What can I build on? And what can I get over next time? The more you do these things, the better you will get. I promise you, everybody will get better if they do this. So I would say, if you've got really, really important, something really important coming up you want to be good at, get some practice in first. Put yourself out there, do it, and that is the only way you get better. So yeah, so to say, you know, answer your question, I'm really good at talking off the cuff, and I'm really good at finding common ground with people, which enables me to make a connection. Those are my strengths now. They didn't used to be.
That's really interesting, Hannah, because you're an introvert in terms of the way you think is probably in your head, and then you like to prepare and then speak, having thought about it first. Because would you say that's quite a good description of you? More introvert than extrovert?
I'm naturally introverted, but I have learned to enjoy speaking to people and presenting. Because, and this, to be honest, doing a live webinar is terrifying for me. This is new. I would far rather all the people I can see, all the people who signed up for this. If you were in a room with me now, I'd be fine. I've practiced at it. I'm good. It's quite nerve-wracking under the screen, and I keep trying not to see me. So this is a new thing for me now, and I'm sure I'll watch this back in 6 months' time and think it was dreadful. I was awful. But it's about.
You constantly have to say I'm not good enough. But let's go.
There you go. I'm a little bit awesome. But it's about getting out there and doing it. You know, no one is going to be good at this first time, and this is about learning and practicing and getting good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we get to the big power tips at the end, we're gonna come out with every single cliche under the sun, but they do work. I have used these tips on myself. I'm a natural extrovert, which isn't always the best personality type to be. People think if you're extrovert, oh, you're confident because you're extrovert. I'm extrovert, which just means I talk a lot, and I can talk off the cuff like Hannah, but sometimes it's too much. And I've beaten myself up about it for years, thinking I talk too much. Damn, I talk too much. I don't listen enough. But listen, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're introvert or extrovert. There's no right or wrong. There's just types. You don't have to be bubbly to be good at communicating. You don't have to be outgoing to be able to sell yourself well. If you're an introvert, it doesn't mean that you can't speak to people. Hannah's learnt to love it. You can too. But here's the thing, you've got things about you that are exceptional. You've got things that are really good that you just think are easy. It doesn't matter how trivial you think it is. You are really good at doing certain things. And you've got a personality type that you need to be celebrating, not beating yourself up about. Now, my brother's very, very clever. He went to Oxford and he got scholarships into nice schools. And so I always thought I wasn't clever. I spent my whole life just thinking that was the truth. The truth is, my brother got scholarships. He went to Oxford. The truth is, I'm not clever like that. He could play the piano like Beethoven when he was 4. I couldn't do that. Yes, I played the saxophone when I was 11, but I thought, oh yes, but I was such a late starter. How could I possibly even say that I'm good at the saxophone? Even though I got grade 8 when I was 16, I think, and I still didn't think I was good enough because I compared myself. So here's the thing, don't compare yourself with other people. That's very easy to say, but seriously, think about your good bits. Think, what are you quirky? Are you creative? Now, what are you good at? Celebrate it. And now here's a really good tip. Now you know what your USP is, and it might take time. You might need to talk to your friends and family and colleagues about it and have conversations about this. In fact, go and have a few drinks and chat about it in the pub and in a relaxed environment. Don't beat yourself up trying to be perfect, trying to get it right. What is my USP? And you have to have a perfect paragraph to describe you. Don't worry about it. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just have a think about it. And when you know what your USP is, if you could pick out one thing that you're really good at, it doesn't matter if it's, I'm funny, I'm a bit crazy, I'm really organised, whatever. And like, what would your friends say about you? You know, they would say probably 1 or 2 words. And the trick here is then to pick a story or an example of when that manifests itself, but relating to the audience that you've just so carefully thought about. And so then what you can do is you can start thinking, oh, now, if you're a bit, okay, so for example, I'm a little bit odd. I've been told I'm a bit quirky. I've been told I'm a bit funny. Somebody once told me, I did a talk the other day and I was doing an impression of, you know, people apologising about themselves, and I was strutting around and one of the guys said, you're a bit like the female version of Michael McIntyre. And I never would have had I never thought I had the right. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have had the right to say, well, I use comedy, I'm quite funny. I enjoy it, I'm quirky, I make it fun, people laugh. But it's true. And when I started realising that being a little bit quirky, for me, not for you, just for me, that started working. I started being able to polish it. I started being able to throw myself into it more. And now when I'm doing a live masterclass in front of an audience, I've let myself go. I've taken the lid off myself. So here's the thing. Take the lid off yourself. Stop trying to be perfect. That's a great tip. Stop trying to be perfect. And let yourself be you. You don't have to be a stand-up comedian. But I bet you've got a sense of humour. Have fun with it. Don't think that you've got to be professional. Don't think that professional means that you've got to be absolutely right and correct. Because actually, a lot of the time, people don't want you to be perfect. They don't want you to be right and correct. They want you to be authentic. They want you to be you. Give them a piece of yourself. But a really good way of doing that is being able to tell a story or an anecdote. So that if you can start gathering stories and having a few stories up your sleeve to talk about how great your project is, how great your success stories are, how great your ideas are, how great your products are, that is the key. So come up with stories, tell stories, because stories can tick lots of boxes. When Hannah was telling you the story about her shyness, that tells you a lot about Hannah. The great thing about, I was on the bus and pressing the buzzer on the bus, you can remember Hannah now as, oh, she was shy. She was shy and now she's shining. But a story is, rather than Hannah saying, to sell herself, I'm really good at talking to people now. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't have to say that. You can tell a story. I was really shy. I was so shy I couldn't even press the buzzer on the bus. And I've learnt to speak to people. I've learnt to love people. Well, I have found it incredibly difficult As if you're introvert, and introverts and extroverts are quite different at communicating. As an extrovert, I found it incredibly difficult to speak to a crowd of people without kind of two-way conversation. And I did everything under the sun. You know, I sweated, I forgot my lines, I lost my confidence. I've done everything, every mistake there is to make. But it's taken a while. But when you start giving yourself permission to be yourself, it is great. You really start having fun with it. This isn't rocket science. This isn't, we've got to get really serious now. This is about letting yourself go. Just let go. Stop trying to be perfect. And what did Oscar Wilde say? Be yourself, because everybody else is already taken. So that's the authentic section. So write down what your USP is, and write down some stories that will highlight and illustrate what your USP is, and have fun with it. And now we get to the fun bit of the webinar. We get to the bit where it's quite simply, you've got to add a bit of awesomeness. So now when you're selling yourself, fine, you've got stories, fine, you know your audience, you know where you are, you know what your objective is. Now, you've got to deliver it. And those of you that have met me before know that there's a key ingredient to awesome delivery. And if I were to say, if you were to take away one tip, it's that Americans do this well. If you're American, you know what I mean. You know what the British people think about Americans, and British people, you know what you think about Americans. Okay, now, the thing about Americans is that they're just used to this stuff. Americans aren't afraid to talk about seeking the opportunity and saying, oh no, I really like that, I dig that, that's great, awesome. Americans are incredibly positive all the time. And we think, oh my God, Americans are, you know, they're just so awesome all the time and positive. But the thing is, we can be, as a race, in fact, Europeans, we are too humble. We're constantly underselling ourselves. We're putting these obstacles in our way. And all we've got to do is loosen up a bit, okay? And let it out and be a little bit awesome. So what I'd like you to do is, when you do practice your stories, because you are going to go away and practice these stories. And when you practice your stories, I want you to practice as an American. I want you to be a little bit awesome. I want you to have a bit more swagger, a bit more big shoulders, grow an inch in height. I want you to be more of a warrior. I don't want you to hold back. Try it. I know now you're going to think, oh no, this is so embarrassing. And then when I'm working with clients, I do actually use a camera and we watch ourselves back. It's very funny. It's hilarious. And it's particularly funny when I get people to do it in an American accent, because suddenly, when you're talking about a story, I used to be shy, but now I talk to people. I talk to audiences all the time, and I love it. I love people. I love the way they tick. I love their stories. I love their personalities. Like, suddenly, when you become an American, it's kind of, whoa, woohoo. Try it. I know at the moment you're sitting there writing notes thinking, oh no, God, this is exactly what I was dreading. But the thing is, if you want to be good at this stuff, if you want to grow in terms of your career, you want to grow in terms of your status, your gravitas, your confidence, you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone on a daily basis. You can't just become confident. You can't wave a magic wand and go, ding, oh look, now I can be confident. You've got to go through a process. You've got to decide and tell yourself, I'm going to give this a go. And what I would really, 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 really like you to do is just a little exercise, a little practical exercise here. I'd like you to, I don't care if there's people listening to you, there might be family or friends or colleagues, depending on what scenario you're in as you're watching this webinar. But if you are in a public room, you can whisper this. But if you're not in a public room, I would like you to say this out loud. Okay, Hannah, you are going to say this out loud too. Okay, after 3, I just want you to say, I'm a little bit awesome. Okay, after 3, in 3, 2, 1, I'm a little bit awesome. Hannah, you've got to say it too. Let me hear you say it, Hannah. Go on. Ready? In 1, 2, ready?
I am a little bit awesome.
Okay, say it. I'm a little bit awesome. Now, it's funny. When I was doing a women's networking event the other day, it was actually the law firm, one of the women came up to me and she said, you know what I found really difficult? And I thought she was going to say, oh, it was so cringy and awful. But she didn't say that. She said, I found it really difficult to say, I'm a little bit awesome. And I said, why? Were you embarrassed? She said, no. I just felt like I couldn't say it because I didn't feel like I was awesome. I find it difficult to say, I'm a little bit awesome. Because how often do you say, I am quite good, I'm good. I'm good at this. In fact, I'm brilliant at this. I'm so good. I'm so good at drawing this, or I'm so good at organising this. I'm so good at project managing this. When do you ever say, I'm a little bit awesome? I am a little bit awesome. When do you say it? Not very often. Or I'm really good at this. And I can celebrate how good I am at this. So I'd like you to look in the mirror and say it on a daily basis. Today I want you to say it at least 3 times. When you go to the loo, look at yourself in the mirror and say it. And even better, if you are brave, if you are willing to put yourself out of your comfort zone, you're deciding today, this is your time. I am going to push myself. This is my time. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to put myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to celebrate my strengths. I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to tell stories that are targeted to the right audience at the right time. And I'm going to be a little bit awesome. And I'd like you to make video selfies and post them up on Twitter. I dare you to make a video selfie saying, I'm a little bit awesome, and put it on Twitter and share it with other people. Or just, or even if you just say it in quotes, you don't even have to do a video selfie, because a video selfie is quite, that's probably, 3 zones out of your comfort zone. But please do share on Twitter. And in fact, the Twitter handle is going to be after this, I am awesome. Okay, hashtag I am awesome. And we can share tweets, I am awesome. And you can tell me one of your USPs. I'd like to know what your USPs are after this webinar. Just share, what are you good at? And just say, I am awesome. And it's time, it's your time. Because if you keep putting an obstacle in the way and making excuses, I don't want to be arrogant, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it is uncomfortable being a woman. It is uncomfortable having to put yourself out there. It is uncomfortable growing and blossoming in your career, in your business. It's hard. It's way harder than I thought. It's way, way harder. And I have had help on the way, and I've got a coach, and I've got various people that help me, and I've had a good infrastructure around me of people that have helped me. And that's what I do. I help people, I help you, and I share with you all these tips that really work. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the Amy Cuddy TED Talk. And have you heard of Professor Amy Cuddy? She's got a very, very popular TED Talk. It's been seen by something like 35 million people all over the world. And she talks about feeling powerful. Of course, she's American. She talks about the power of the pose. And if you put yourself, you're physically in a certain position, if you sit up straight, in fact, sit up straight now, breathe, take a nice deep breath. When you feel, and you put yourself in a position where you're in a powerful position and you're feeling confident, your brain tells you, I am confident, I am powerful. And when you warm up and actually get yourself physically in the mood, you perform so much better. So that's a whole other webinar, which is about how you get yourself physically prepared to be fantastic at performing on any level, whether it's a meeting or you're doing a big conference. And the other thing I'm going to send to you after this is a little mini vocal warm-up if you want to have a good voice. Because quite often people ask me, how do I get my voice heard? And one of the questions that you sent was, how do I get my voice heard over the corporate banter? And actually physically being present and physically being more powerful and physically having a louder voice will help you. But you have to do the process of knowing your audience, knowing and really adopting your USP and celebrating your strengths, and then delivering it well. If you just do the delivery, yes, people will think you're relatively confident, and yes, you will feel proud that you had a voice that day. But unless you've got all the the foundations and all the content behind it. It's just polishing something that isn't quite ready yet. But you can adopt all of these things from now on and just practice them little by little. Practice. Get yourself out there. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. Stop beating yourself up. You're not allowed to say, oh yeah, but I'm not really good at that. Forget that. Start moving forward and start celebrating the good bits. And those are the main tips today. So you've got the worksheets that you can fill out and you can start working on yourself. And I will be sending you the tips, and I'll be sending you a follow-up email with some clips that you can that will help you adopt some of these tips too. So Hannah, should we do this again another time?
There are just a couple of things actually when I was listening to you that can also really help with the things you're talking about. One of the things that we do on our career course with the women, and that's been really, really a revelation to them, is we get them to ask people they know, we get them to pick 4 people, and for those people to list some of their strengths. Because often we focus on the things that we don't think we're very good at, and we don't consider the things that we are. We overlook the good things. And in fact, we're not even aware of what they are. And actually, it was quite an emotional journey for women on the course, because they got 4 people to write the things that they were really good at, and it really surprised them. It really surprised them at some of the things that were on the list, but it also surprised them that people recognised it in them. And they found it was a real confidence-boosting exercise. So that can be, if you really struggle with your USP, and I know that's something that some of you will do, get your colleagues or get your family or your friends to list the things they think you're good at. And something else as well, you know, I mentioned earlier that I was really, really shy. And what really helped me to get past that is 2 things. One is exactly what you say, get out of my comfort zone. I constantly pushed myself into positions that were uncomfortable for me, but got me doing the things I wanted to do. So in my life, whenever I've wanted to achieve more than I've achieved, and it's a huge step up, and I've been at a position where I've had a decision to make that's scary, I've always done the scary thing. Because yes, it may have felt uncomfortable in the beginning, but by doing it, I got that practice, and you never go backwards. You know, you grow outwards, and the wider the parameters that you give your life, the more you will grow into those parameters. So if you have an opportunity to do a presentation or to go for a job that's a bit outside your comfort zone, do it. Because that may, the first time you do it, it may not be great, it may be great, it may not be great, but you never go backwards. Well, once you get that experience, no one can take that away, and you will just keep moving forward. And the other thing that helped me is, and this is something that I later qualified as a therapist and a hypnotherapist, and this is something you actually do in therapy, but I kind of stumbled upon it myself anyway. I looked at the people that I admired, the people that when I lacked confidence, when I lacked social skills, and I thought about the people I knew in my own social circle and celebrities that I admired, that I thought had the qualities that I would really like to embody. And every night before I went to sleep, I would play these little videos in my head of me in situations that I was familiar with, but I was acting like other people. I embodied the characteristics of the people that I admired. And I would replay the videos, sometimes scenarios I'd actually been in, of me having these new skills. And a really funny thing happened is that over time, I did adopt those skills. They became naturally, and it wasn't that I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. I was making them my own. But what I was doing in my brain is I was laying down templates in my brain, opening up neural pathways that allowed me to, because the brain cannot tell the difference sometimes between imagination, dreaming, and reality, which is why when you dream, you have real emotion. When I was playing these videos in my mind, I was fantasizing about me being a different version of me. My brain didn't know that that was a fantasy. And so I was laying down these templates, opening these neural pathways. But over time, I did grow into these character traits that became me. So I wasn't being someone else. I was taking them on my own. So if people, and some of you out there, find yourself really nervous in presentations, it can really help to channel someone else. Play these videos in your head when you go to sleep every night, when you're kind of quiet and your brain is relaxed, and your unconscious can kind of latch onto these. So those are some of the things I know have really helped me.
Good. And let's go to some of these questions. We've got some great questions. Thank you so much for sending these in. And some of them are, there's lots of common themes, and you are not alone. You are not alone if you feel nervous. Hannah, thank you for that. You're absolutely right. In fact, let's kick off with let's kick off with one about panicking. So, are there any tips to help you avoid panic when you're in the spotlight and messing up? Are there any tips to, combating nerves? There were quite a few questions about, I get tongue-tied, I'm really shy. Somebody even said, any tips for an introverted 36-year-old who still hides in toilets and invents ways to avoid having to mingle with strangers? Right. Okay, so let's cover the combating nerves question first. You're absolutely right, Hannah. It's a process. Gaining confidence doesn't just happen overnight. This is going to set you on the path of righteousness, I'm hoping, so you can start building your confidence from this moment on and practicing and every day testing yourself and challenging yourself and doing funny little exercises like I am awesome. However, I've got a couple of really good quick fix combating nerves tips, again based on the neuroscience. Very, 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 very simple tip. So if you're actually in the moment, getting really nervous, or you're about to go into a really important board meeting and this is the moment. First of all, I would suggest that you do spend time warming up. So before you get into the meeting, don't go walk in the room and go, hey, hi guys, I'm feeling awesome today. Go and do something before the meeting, 10 minutes before the meeting, go for a walk, start warming up, physically warming up, walking, moving your shoulders, doing a vocal exercise, which I'll send you a clip. But if you actually really start sweating, shaking, and thinking, I am going to completely go to pieces here, a really simple trick that psychologists and neuroscientists have confirmed this with me as well, is that you need to get your heart rate down. It's very, very simple. So there's a really, really, really simple breathing exercise. And if you've given birth, it might sound quite familiar because it's all down to breathing. Life is about breathing. So just quite simply, imagine that you have a candle in front of you and blow out the candle for 10 beats. So just all do it together now. Just imagine that you have a candle in front of you and blow out for 10 beats. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then breathe for 8 beats. Breathe through the nostrils for 8 beats through the nose. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you're blowing out the candle for 10 and you'll breathe and you're smelling the roses. Smell the roses. An actor friend told me that as an actor walks on stage, you blow out the candle as you walk on the stage, and then just before you speak, you smell the roses, and then you're good to go. But the thing is, with that slow breathing, if you do it in yoga, you're very familiar with this. Blowing out through the mouth, in through the nose, blow out the candle, smell the roses. If you repeat that around 3 times or 4 times, your heart rate will go down immediately, and the cortisol that has accumulated in your body, because your body will build up cortisol, which is the stress hormone. I heard the other day it takes 45 seconds to get rid of the cortisol. Now, the great thing about doing a little breathing exercise like that is that if you are actually sitting in the boardroom or you are on the panel on the stage at the conference, they won't necessarily know what you're doing. That's an easy exercise just to get yourself back in the zone, and it really works. I mean, when I'm panicking, I can't actually quite manage 10 and 8 beats. I have to do 5 and 4 and then slowly build up. So if you're really panicking, you might not be able to, breathe out for 10 beats. But just breathing slowly out through the mouth, in through the nose, is unbelievably effective. So that's how to combat nerves on the spur of the moment. And I think we've got time for a couple of other questions. How about this? How can I build natural self-promotion into a conversation without always sounding like the conversation is me, 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 me? And we've kind of covered that. So how do I build a self-promotion into the conversation? Tell a story that is entertaining for the audience at that time. So if it's a story about that might suit an older gentleman who's really into golf or sport, tell a story that's much more tailored towards that kind of person. You will have loads of stories. You've got families, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, aunties, kids, whatever, friends of friends, families overseas. You've got lots and lots of stories that you could tell. So you can relate to any kind of audience that you meet, particularly at a networking event. Tell a story that is more relevant to that audience, and that's how you do it. And just by telling the story, and if you take the lid off yourself and you let yourself go and you're a little bit awesome, they're gonna love you. That's how you do it. You don't just talk about, I'm really good at making new products, I'm really good at graphic design. You know, that's not engaging. What's in it for the audience? There has to be something in it for them. It has to be engaging and enjoyable. And you can enjoy it. And when you're gathering all these great stories, you can have real fun. You know, you can do it with your mates over a bottle of wine. It's a nice thing to do. It's enjoyable. And if you love what you do and you're passionate about what you do, the stories will just come naturally. Just think of examples where it might have gone wrong, what you learnt from it, what your plans, what's your idea, what are your dreams, what would you like to grow into, what are your goals, you know, all those things are really interesting stories, and you've got way more than you think, and it just takes a little bit of unpicking and thinking about. You might not think of them immediately now if I ask you. Okay, what about this? How do you come across, oh yeah, this came up earlier, how do you come across as confident and proficient without sounding, and I picked out some of the words that came in, and I don't know if you've got any more words. How do you not sound cocky, pushy, arrogant, boasting, or big-headed, or all of the above? People are worried about being bossy, and what is it? One of my clients said the other day, oh, I think I'm just being direct, but people think that I'm bossy, and they think that I'm aggressive. And I just think I'm being direct because I tell the truth. Well, again, what does your audience need? Your audience needs to see warmth. So quite simply, a tip is when you embody your awesomeness, okay, smile. Very simple. If you smile and you find the joy in the story, if you feel a little bit awesome and you look a bit, just smiling a bit makes you look effortless, makes you look effortlessly confident. And if you are a leader and you have to tell a group of people this is what our strategy is, and people are accusing you of being bossy because you've got to get the job done, of course you have. If you can find a little bit of warmth, find the humour, what's in it for them, why will they listen, what will make them feel valued, just by smiling and being a little bit warm, that's the key. So try and enjoy it, find the fun, and you will feel so much better. And you're not a fraud. Stop feeling like a fraud. You're not a fraud. Have you got any more questions, Hannah? Have any questions come in? Because I don't think I've got the I've got the public.
As a new business starter, how do you feel and project that you know enough or are an expert?
Okay, so as a new business starter, okay, good question. My first reaction to that is don't focus on what you don't know. Nobody knows everything. Even the most clever person in the whole world doesn't know everything. And as I say, in Hollywood, you know, and I've spoken to Hollywood moguls and Hollywood actors and directors, and what they're saying in Hollywood is, you know, the thing about Hollywood, nobody knows anything because they can't predict what's going to happen. Everyone just talks about this great pitch and this film. Nobody knows anything. It could be a flop. Right? Nobody knows anything. You don't have to know everything. But what you do need to know is that you're passionate and that you've got a vision. And concentrate on your story. Find a story to tell. If you're good at what you do and you're passionate and you've got a vision of where you want to be, focus on the future. Focus on your vision. Focus on your passion. Focus on the stories. Don't focus on, what if they find me out? What if I don't know enough? What if? Exactly. Look, we all feel like that. But if you focus on what you don't know, then the audience will. Don't focus on what you don't know. Ask questions. Get them to tell you what they need. And then that's a really good conversation. Talking to the audience about what they need. What would they be interested in that startup? You know, what are the things that they would like to see? Have they got any ideas for you? Can you pick their brains? That's always a good thing. Picking people's brains is really good. And rather than having to kind of try and do an elevator pitch where you don't, if you don't feel comfortable, then don't do it. You know, find stories, find good questions that you can ask. You will have a funny, quirky story that you can default to if you start talking about your business and you start thinking, oh no, I don't think I'm an expert. Look, if you're passionate about making it work, they'll like it. The audience will like it. Any other questions come in, Hannah? And I think we've got time for one quick
Yeah,
question.
and I want to just add to Gloria as well is that, and I think, you know, everything that Esther said about if you know your audience and what their problem is and finding out what they need, talking about what you know about that without selling. So don't think about it as in, oh, I'm going to sell something now. Actually, I'm just going to tell them how they can solve their problem. I think is a
Yeah.
really, really good way. And you have that authenticity because then your brain is latching on to the things that you do know. You're not worrying about what you don't know. Um, so that's definitely something that I would do. Um,
And just before we go, Hannah, there are so many things that we could talk about pitching, couldn't we? We can talk about. I mean, I've got various open classes and things coming up, and that we can keep you posted with. We might even do another webinar, Hannah, about pitching an idea, specifically crafting a pitch, which is much more focused about how do you do that based on the principles of what we talked about today. I've also got a couple of things coming up in the future about networking, how to network when you hate small talk, which is again similar themes of today. But we will send you a follow up with some cool clips and with a little reminder of what we've talked about today. And I think we've got to sign off now, Hannah. But
yes.
if you want to end with the final, with the final remark.
Yes, and I would say I love your hashtag I am awesome. So if I'm going to tweet after this, but if anyone wants the hashtag why they're awesome, please do. And I'd love to hear why you're awesome. I'm sure Esther would as well. Um,
Yes, I will
and
do it too.
I hope you've enjoyed it. You can, if you go on to @talented ladies on Twitter or our Facebook page, if you have any questions after this for Esther or for me, just ask us and we were really happy to help. So if there was anything we didn't cover that you had a burning question, just ask it on Twitter, ask it on Facebook, and we will be happy to answer it. We're going to send a recording of this to everybody. So if you haven't managed to catch all of it or you want to watch it again, please do. Do print out the workbook and go through that because it can really help. Esther's tips are amazing, and I absolutely agree with the whole audience thing. The more you know about the audience and the more you focus on them, the better. Whatever your presentation, whether it's a sales pitch or any job interview, anything, if you know what your audience want to deliver it, you're going to come across as amazing. You just can't. You will be awesome. You'll be fine. And also, I've never met, I have to say, anyone who isn't awesome in some way. You know, even the least confident people I've met have got something about them that's amazing that I don't know about, that I can't do. So you may not think you're awesome, but I guarantee you are. And you will do something that will amaze other people. So have confidence in what you do. And if you can't see it yourself, do get other people to tell you what that is, because that's a really emotional and enlightening exercise. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly really enjoyed speaking to Esther. I love Esther. I think you're fantastic.
Thank you.
And I hope you will have a good day. Please do tweet. I am awesome. And we'll send you. Esther's going to send you some tips following up, and I will send you a recording of this. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, Esther, as well.
Be awesome. Okay, see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.